Hi everyone, welcome to the Tea and Trails podcast. Eddie, you said you didn't have an intro from any skiers, so here we are in Samouins in France, Mont Blanc in the background. So everybody, lace up, lean in. Here's your hosts, Eddie and Gary.
Thank you, Harrier Trail Running, for sponsoring this week's interview. Harrier is a fantastic UK trail running brand making quality, functional and affordable gear for anyone who loves getting off-road, whether you're a first-time trail runner or a seasoned ultra athlete. Their kit covers everything from race vests, poles, waterproofs and other trail essentials built for the ever-changing British weather. We love Harrier at Tea and Trails because they truly champion inclusivity and community. They help runners of every level feel welcome, supported and confident enough to get out and explore the trails. It's not just waterproof jackets, poles and running vests. They also have essentials too. The Pro Runner First Aid Kit is engineered for elite trail athletes, ultra distance runners and mountain racers who demand absolute reliability from every piece of gear they carry. This ultralight, waterproof and race-ready first aid kit meets the needs of high output runners pushing long distances in remote terrain. Designed to satisfy many mandatory ultra and mountain race kit requirements, it gives you fast access to essential needs for cuts, scrapes, hotspots, blisters and more serious trail injuries. If you would like to save 10% on your purchase from Harrier, then use the code TEAS10 for 10% off site-wide, or check out the brilliant trail bundles for a special 20% off.
Got a treat for you this week with our chat with Gemma Hillier Moses. What a lovely lady. I love her journey. I love her story. I love the way she tells a story. A truly smoking fast athlete, but has also got her HOKA tectons firmly attached to the ground and treats everything with such a sense of fun and laughter and doesn't take herself too seriously. She's going to rip your North Face. North Face.
But smiling all the way.
Yeah, but a big supporter of other runners as well. And I love talking about her training and very sensible, patient approach as well. Really could learn a lot from following her. All of us trail runners, she's come into it from a road running background. She's like, I take a rest, I take a recovery, whereas we sometimes are a bit like, we're on to the next one. Sharing all her story and also all her hopes for the future as well. Lace up your trainers, press start on your engine, find your car key. God, I can never find my car key. Fold that laundry and settle in for our chat with Gemma.
I'm going to hit you with 3 questions straight away, Gemma. Apologies for this. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us today. A warm welcome from the Tea and Trails podcast. We do ask all our guests, though, where are you? What's the view from your window? And have you been for a run today?
Oh, you're asking me?
Yes.
It's really boring if you ask me.
That is a great start. I was thinking the guests as in people that were listening. I don't know why. The view from my window is currently just looking out over other houses. We're at the top of a hill, actually, so you can see the woodland in the background. Have I been for a run today? No, I haven't, because I'm on a rest day, so full rest day, which I really enjoy. So what have I done? I've literally recorded a little bit of content this morning, worked, had some tea.
I saw a big screen, like that's serious content. You weren't sort of just in your car going, hi guys, just jumping on here quick to say. You were doing proper content.
Well, it was literally just, we've got a light, me and Lewis. It's just me and Lewis in a room in our house with a tripod, just answering some questions. So it looks a bit more pro than it actually is.
It did.
Definitely makeshift. We've kind of got this light from when we used to have a little podcast studio, and then it's come home and now it's in the office and recording some content. But what was the last question? I didn't get the last one.
Oh, where are you? What's the view from your window? And have you been for a run today?
I think you answered them all.
Oh yeah, I've answered it all. Yeah.
Little bit focused now, Gemma. All right, nice podcast.
So what's local trails like, Gemma? If we were to turn up at your door, where are you going to take us? Local highlights.
So in Leicestershire, we have somewhere called the Beacon and Bradgate Park. So there are local runs, and we do have Tom Evans who runs regularly on there. So that's a
high five as you pass him, as you go, easy run today, Tom. Come on. Lift those knees.
Often I do see him. I'm sometimes going down at Beacon and he's coming up the hill with some of the guys. Alex Shee as well runs around them. So we do have a lot of athletes that they are quite runnable trails in terms of just, nice woodland trails. But then you go over to like Bradgate Park and they're a little bit more rutty, muddy. And we have like quite good hills around there. So kind of not mountainous, but undulating. But it is one of our favourite places to run because you can get a lot of like elevation in there. You can get bits of technical trail. What you can't get is like a 45-minute climb, but there's treadmills for that.
That's the stepper and the treadmill. Yeah. Exactly. So how then that translate? I suppose what would you do specifically? I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself with the questions. Where you live isn't really like that south coastal path with the Arc, which it's like yo-yos, all those steps and the dunes of doom.
I did a lot of my long runs over at Lady Bower. So one of the guys that Lewis coaches called Bertie created a loop called the Bertie Loop. And it's just off the Lady Bower like main path, so it does go up and it's like big climb.
That horrible climb? I know exactly the one.
It could, but it might not be that one because this is one that a lot of people don't go up. So I know there's a couple.
Oh God, there's more.
Yeah, this is like a fire track climb that you can go through some woodlands and then a steep rocky descent, and it's about 3 miles long. I did 4 hours on it at one point, so I'm literally just going up, down, up, down, up, down. So that was where like a lot of the long runs are. But then my 5-hour long run happened when all the weather was horrific in the peaks. I think it was like icy and snowy. So we've done that before where we've gone up there and just not got like the quality of long run that we'd want to. So we actually did I did my 5-hour long run round Beacon and Bradgate. So although it doesn't have the it has steeper climbs, but they're only like 100 meters or less than that. So you are going up and down a lot. But to be fair, it means that you're running faster. It kind of, you get a lot of downs as well in that time. You don't get long downs, but as soon as you go up, you got to go straight down, and you get that kind of the elevation that probably suits the Arc, for example. No single track paths or no mud like it was muddy, but not like it was at the Arc. I don't think anything could prepare you for that. Yeah, it does work quite well where we live. I do a lot of tempos around Bradgate Park and Beacon, and then anything else that I want to do, like climbing in a session, but with like minimal recovery or less recovery, I would do on a treadmill. And then I did have the stepper in, but not like huge amounts this time because it wasn't a mountain type race. So
we do love the stepper and the treadmill, but one of the only, I suppose the downside of it is, you don't get that impact that you would do from the trails. But then the flip side of that, you don't really condition your legs for the long descents too, so it is a bit of a trade-off.
Yeah, that is the hardest thing, and the descending is often where a lot of the problems happen, and I think that's a little bit to do with pacing in races, but also massively conditioning. So before the Arc, after every race, like I struggled with around, I don't know if many women get this, but around my hip area and pelvis area, and like all the the adductors and all the ligaments around there, I'd come off a race and be like, oh my God, because all my stabilizers
you feel like you've been punched, don't you? Like,
oh my God, it's mad. Yeah. I was like, and all my stabilizers just weren't strong enough. So I've worked really hard in the gym on like the adductors and the adductor strength and cable pulley type stuff. And then hamstring tendon type stuff as well, because they can get a bit burny. And with the long run conditioning and all the sessions and then that strength work, it was the first race since I started trail running that I've come out and I've been like, my hips are fine, which is quite nice. It didn't matter about the result. I just was saying, Liz, oh my God, this is such a big problem, but my hips are like just normal, which is quite nice because, it does hurt.
How many weeks? I'm trying to get my timeline right. It's about 6 weeks since the Arc 50.
No, Gary.
Two.
Two
on Saturday. Yeah.
I'm a month ahead of myself. Sorry. What does that look like? Because I've probably got this wrong too. Also, you are going to be at Chianti, so that's a quick turnaround.
Yeah, so I'm going to go back to Chianti. So I did Chianti 73k last year, and that's the one that I kind of had my biggest step up and won that race. I'm going back to do the 120k this year, which is my longest race ever. I loved Chianti. I mean, it was a mud bath as well, but I did really like it, like the place. So I thought, well, let's go back and do the 120k.
And you didn't run the proper course, did you, either? So maybe if the weather's better, didn't they reroute quite a lot of it into even worse routes, and which they love doing, don't they?
Yeah, but I think that's going to be the same this year. I think the year before it was like beautiful like vineyard trails and all that sort of stuff. And I think they wanted to make it more rugged. So then it ended up being actually running in the vineyards in clay mud. Not on the path to the side of it, and like quite rocky terrain, quite rough basically, not like horrendous, but rough. And then the mud comes and then it gets worse. But I think the course is pretty similar to last year now. I think that's maybe where it's staying. So I guess if the weather's nice leading into it, you'll get dry trails. But I mean, basing it on everything that Europe's had at the moment, I'm not sure. Yeah, it's a big turnaround. It's a quick turnaround. However, the Arc in our head from a training point of view wasn't an A race. So it'd be classed as like a B or C race. So we weren't peaking for the Arc. The training was technically still building. So somebody asked me like the week before, oh, are you ready for your taper? And I was like, oh no, I feel like sometimes you really are ready for a taper and you're ready to ease down. And I didn't feel like that. I wasn't like mentally or physically exhausted. I felt quite fresh, felt quite like you still had that real motivation for training. So I was in a good place going into the Arc. And then we wanted to use the Arc as that 8-hour long run, because what happened when I did CCC this year is my longest run was 7 hours. I was going to run for like 6 to 7 hours more than I'd ever run before. And we needed a middle ground. So the Arc gave that. So I didn't have to do that in training. And then Chianti then sets me up hopefully to do, it's my longest race, but it will be similar time to what the CCC will be. So again, practicing nutrition and all that type of stuff as well. So there is like a long-term plan in terms of how this is working.
So if that wasn't your air race then, well, fingers crossed, first of all, I hope the weather is better in Chianti. What was your taper then for the Arc?
It was still a 2-week taper. So I still think I did a hard session 10 days out, which I sometimes don't do. I only did like an hour and a bit on the Sunday the week before. I always keep it flat the week before as well, any race. So just ran flat, did a taper trail session on the Tuesday and then really easy into it. So even though it's not an A race, the taper still happens because it's important. We do look after ourselves and our body, and recovery is so important. So going into it a little bit fresher helped you get more out of it on the day. But then I had a week full recovery. So I did like light spinning, just went on the cross trainer and then a couple of runs. And then this week's been like what we call a bridging week, where you do like, I did an uphill tempo session, for example, and then I'll do like a progression run on Friday, so and a slightly longer run on Sunday. So it's build it, whereas usually after an A race you'd have like 2 or 3 weeks probably completely off. To be fair, it's also important to listen to your body because my legs actually feel quite good and I feel quite fresh and relaxed and recovered. So that's the main thing really.
I bet Lewis is going, dangerous time, Gemma, hold it this week, and you're like, oh, do you know, I feel great, and he's like, wait, hold it.
I know. Yeah, to be fair, I've learned now. I'm like, oh, I feel good. And he's like, oh, great. And then I end it there. I'm not like...
Exactly the same way athletes. They go, I feel great. And I go, do you? That's interesting. Yeah. I'm glad. I'm pleased, but let's not add another 45 minutes.
Yeah, I've learned not to bargain with him about different things. And because this week I was like, oh, maybe I could do longer. No, Gemma. And I'm a coach as well, so I do get it.
Yeah. And you've started early, like January. It's quite a long time then, isn't it? To then like, you go like, don't want to peak in February. It's a long time to maintain then and ease down. And then presumably you're going to have a big training block in the summer in the Alps, and to be healthy for that. Otherwise, that's sad times as well.
Yeah. And I think that was what was really good about the Arc. So I actually had an injury in November where I couldn't run as much and I could only run uphill for a while. So I could still run.
Awful. Were you on the treadmill?
Well, just on the treadmill every day, yeah.
God, your quads must have been incredible. It
was a weird injury. It was just more neural, but didn't seem to like running downhill. Yeah. So I did a lot of cross training and treadmill. But then my long runs didn't really start until December. So that's why I think some people think they have to have a perfect build up to the race. But if you actually look back, really, I only started getting into the nitty-gritty of training over Christmas, and that's only like 5 weeks before the race. So it does show like a lot of your past history and past training does matter, and people just think it's the current training block and they don't then allow themselves the time, or they jump things too quickly. And actually, like, I only did one long run of 5 hours and everything else was under that. And that's 3 hours difference from my race time. So it just shows that a lot of people think about that gap and they have to be closer to it and this, that and the other. But it shows it's consistency of training that makes a difference. And it's better to get on that start line 100% healthy than really fit and not healthy and just exhausted by the time you get there.
It's so much funner to go to an all-you-can-eat buffet really hungry than to go not very hungry. You just won't enjoy it as much.
Exactly. That's a good analogy.
Because it's something that just comes with more experience, though. You just get tired of negative runs.
Yeah, I think what we found was when I first came to the trail running world, it is a different world from road running and track running. And when Tom Evans, for example, talks about the sport science in the sport, and people saw him as the science guru as an athlete and where he was going. But actually, for us, that was kind of just normal because a lot of that came from the track and road running side of things. And then when I came into the trail world, I was like, people are just doing race after race after race and not like recovering. And so like once you get used to it, I can see people just listening to their body, and then maybe they can do more races than me because somebody else's chapter 6 is different to my chapter 1. But we had to learn, my body has to learn and adapt over the last couple of years. And at one point I couldn't do what I'm doing now. Like I couldn't go from the Arc to Chianti, but we've also learned on how to recover. So for example, this week we did an uphill treadmill because we know that the descending and the muscles that you use in descending take quite a battering on the trails. So instead of going on somewhere undulating or up and down for our first session back, we just went uphill. I tried that in December when I did a marathon on the trails in the New Forest, and that worked really well. So again, it's learning what's right for you recovery wise, and like learning how your body feels as well.
I couldn't even walk Rex on Monday. He was dragging me down the little hills where I live. My quads were screaming.
Oh no, had you done a race, had you?
Oh, did I just slip that in there?
I can't believe you didn't drop this.
I did the Hobmoors Trail Marathon.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, it's awesome. Lovely, sloppy coastal trails, just like yourself. But then it always takes in some like local villages too. So it's kind of urban trails too, open moorland, bogs, slabs, the kind of slabs that you get on the moors, and coastal trails. Yeah, it was a blast, an absolute blast. But yes, the legs are still, we're at Thursday now. Maybe I'll try an uphill treadmill. I'm not too sure.
Oh, yeah, probably a bit close. Wait till next week.
Oh, he'll listen to you, Gemma. I've already had this conversation.
Oh, that's not fair. That's straight under the bus. That's not like you, Eddie.
Eat literally as much as you can. Like, I'm a really good eater anyway. I've got a really good relationship with food, but on a race a week after, I like go for it. I'm like, that is part of recovery, literally eating as much as you can and getting lots of hot baths and sleep.
I don't remember the last time I had a hot bath, but yeah, I think I always listen to the cues as far as food's concerned, and that is one thing. There's a theme through this podcast I do not neglect. Maybe not good quality food, but I like lots of food. You mentioned there about, like, you were talking about Tom Evans and the comparison between road runners. Was there a point in your life then when you thought, yeah, the trails, that's where the fun times are?
No.
She still doesn't.
So basically how I got into trails was that Lewis decided to it was in 2023, and one of his athletes was running a trails race in Wales in Cody Brennan, and it wasn't a mountain trails. I wanted to get back camping again, and he decided it'd be cool to book a camping trip. So we went there for the weekend, and he was like, Gem, you can do this as your long run because it's fire track roads with a little bit of technical in it. So we did it. Lewis did it as well, and our friend James. And I was like, I finished second, and I was like, that's pretty cool. I like that. But I was like, I'm still stuck to the kind of road side of things. And then we were going on our runners retreat, Eddie, that you were our guest speaker on. I don't think it may have been the same year, actually. We saw a race in Verbier. It was the UTMB Verbier one, 20k. And it was the day after our retreat. And Lewis was like, why don't we just go and have a go? Bearing in mind, this Verbier race goes up to 2,700 meters of altitude. So pretty high altitude, and it's basically up and down. So
I was going to say, isn't it just up and down? I've had friends that have done it, and it's
it's a tough climb, and it's quite technical. So bearing in mind, I'm a road runner, and also I avoided cross country and anything off road because I used to get a lot of SIJ injuries. So tended to avoid anything like rutty or anything. And then Justin, our friend who lives in Morsey, and we went on he took me on a trail run, and I came back and I said to Liz, this is not for me. I'm awful. I just can't do this stuff. I mean, the mountains look pretty, but this is not my bag. I just don't think I'm good enough on technical trail. I haven't ran on it enough. And then we went to the Verbier race, and I just must have put that to the side. I was a little bit scared to start off with. And then I think I'm quite good at climbing. So I ended up finishing third in that race, but with a massive sprint. No, was it third? Yeah, I think so. Or did I? No, I didn't win it. I was third, I think, first in my age category, but had a massive sprint finish with this girl as well. So you wouldn't ever think in a trail race you'd be having a sprint finish.
But what you've done every single race.
Exactly. I'm like, how does this happen to me? But that's where your road speed, I guess, comes into it. I was like, finally, I could do something well. But then after that, I just fell in love with it because Verbier was beautiful. I mean, it was brutal, but it was 30 degrees, and just something about it changed. Something in my mind shifted, and I came back, like me and Lewis after the retreat went to Annecy, after Verbier went to Annecy for a couple of days. I sat there and I said, can I do a 50k? And he was like, well, that's a bit of a step up. But we entered Coolmanon, and it was in November 2023 when I did my first ultra in Coolmanon, and that's pretty much where it all started.
You touched on then about, and we'd be remiss by not talking about your little bit, not a little bit, but your history with running before you hit the trails. You touched on that you were a little bit fast, smoking fast, and you went to Loughborough, which just means that you were fast. I went to Durham, and you at Loughborough runners were the bane of our life because we had quite similar colour athletics vests. So you were just always a little bit quicker. Can you tell us a little bit about your road running journey as well, so people can get that full picture, as well as I think often people think you appear on the trails she's just naturally that fast, but actually you've got years and years and years of working that speed that we as trail runners, I'm afraid, quite often neglect a little bit.
So I've always ran since primary school, but up until the age of 19 I played county hockey, I ran, I danced, I was very multi-sport. And then when I got to Loughborough University, I decided to focus on running because there was an amazing girls group. So a lot of my best friends now are still from the university, which is really nice.
Are they still running?
Some of them are. I went to visit my friend in Leeds, she did a 10k the other day, and then some aren't at all. Some have now got children, and they're bringing their kids up in the sporting world as well. But they're all so supportive, and we just had such an amazing girls group. We went on amazing trips, and so running at university to me wasn't really that serious because I did it with a group of girls. I was didn't feel like loads of pressure. It was just really nice. And we actually probably put going out on the town or to the union as the number one priority. So we used to go out twice a week.
It's part of growing up, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. But I wouldn't change it because, I had best friends for life. I had experiences that perhaps if you were more serious into your running, you wouldn't have experienced. And then what happened was 2011, I actually moved to a coach called Alex Haynes, who coached his wife to go to 2012 Olympics in the marathon. And he's still one of our really good friends. And I started to work with him, and I made a massive jump in terms of my progression and my times. So my times over, I did actually 1500 meters and 3k indoors. So at British champs, and was 5th and that type of thing. So they started to improve quite a lot. Then I had this big kind of space where I started to go on a kind of upward trajectory in my running. And then I was in London for work. I used to work for Nike, and I came off a train and I fell down through the platform between the train and basically the gap between the train and the platform. And I hit my ankle, and that was kind of the first of a number of events that kind of changed my life and my running journey, I guess. And I basically broke my ankle in one of the worst places you can. So I've still got pins in there. It broke, and then I had to have operations, pins. And to be honest, if I didn't have the physio I had, Renee Thompson, I would have probably never got back running again, because the way it was in the joint, they were this is a very an injury that doesn't heal very well. You have to have a good surgeon, and you have to have a very good rehab protocol for it.
You were I'm the woman. You do not need to worry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I spent a lot of time. So obviously your running's going really well at that point, and then that happens, and gosh, it was just absolutely devastating. But then 2 months after that was when I found a lump in my neck. I was aqua jogging, and that's when I found the lump in the neck, and that's when the running journey kind of changed.
Terrible. You were not only aqua jogging, and you were probably questioning your life choices, and then you found them, and then that led you to a whole other cancer pathway that I think we should touch on as well, because it's also an incredible story as well, and it links to other runners as well of what happened then. Yeah,
the lump on the neck ended up getting bigger and bigger at the time. So I went and actually had it checked out because I thought it was just the glands, and then the GP referred me and said it could be a number of different things. But then I actually got misdiagnosed. So I went to an ear, nose and throat specialist, and they misdiagnosed it as a cyst. Luckily, I had private health insurance because I was supposed to be working at the 2012 Olympics at the time for Nike, and I was in Amsterdam, and I remember feeling my neck and being I'm so tired. I was my stomach was really grumbly for a couple of weeks, and I was I could just fall asleep and when you can fall asleep and not, I mean, you might not know, but not wake up. I was just that tired and exhausted. I was this thing is just hurting so much. I asked to get the operation moved forward, and they operated, and I came out, and I remember lying on the bed, and Lewis was next to me, and I was oh, is it gone? Because technically if it's a cyst, they just pull it out. And Lewis was no, it's not gone, and they're kind of taking a biopsy, and it could be like one of 6 things. One of them was TB and one of them was cancer. And at the time, like, I didn't really know loads about cancer. Like, I didn't have any family members who had it. I definitely didn't know anybody my age, because I was 24 at the time, who had it. I just remember thinking, well, it can't be that bad, you know, what is it? And then 2 weeks later, went back in and they basically told me I had stage 3 Burkitt's lymphoma, which is a rare form of cancer, and it's currently spreading very quickly around the body. And then tests and scans later, I basically had the massive tumour in my neck. I had 15 centimetre tumours in my abdomen and bowel. It was about a couple of weeks away from going to my spinal cord. So it was literally next day treatment started. And that was
so tough. You were like, I just felt really tired. Just felt tired. And I'm like, gosh.
What was the time frame, Gemma, from the misdiagnosis to the operation?
Yeah, my misdiagnosis was in June in May. And then I was officially diagnosed on July the 3rd.
Yeah. Okay.
And so in between that time was but with Burkitt's lymphoma, it spread so quickly that if it had been a month later, I wouldn't be here, because it just would have gone to the whole, to everywhere. So it's a big thing for me of like, I had like a stomach grumbling type thing and like probably a bit of sweating. And I think now it's so important for people to be aware of like the signs and symptoms of things. And if something, it doesn't feel right, you do go to hospital. Because I just blame my stomach thing on a Nando's, but it was like tumours were in there, and you just think it's not bloody Nando's,
Sorry
is it?
to laugh.
So
was it then a full course of like chemo, a lot of treatment, running out the window for a bit? Yeah,
so I was basically hospital bound for 6 months. So I had, and if you ask the doctors and nurses, they probably had the most aggressive chemotherapy that you could have as in terms of cancer treatment. And then lots of procedures like bone marrow biopsies, lumbar punctures, and then intense, like 3 weeks of intense chemo, small breaks, back again, all hospital based. I mean, the first 4 weeks I had to be like in an isolated unit, because I was probably at the most vulnerable while they were getting the first parts of the tumour out of the body. So like my sister had a bit of a like eye infection or something, and she couldn't come and see me for the first 3 weks. And that really affected her as well, I think. But a lot of aggressive treatment, lost all my hair everywhere, which in some parts was good. But in other parts, in terms of like my hair, I was like, that was probably one of the hardest things, like losing your identity. And it was a really tough time, to be fair. And the idea of running still played a good, like an important part in that journey, even though I wasn't able to do what I did. But I guess movement and exercise became quite important to me during that time.
When were you able to start moving again? And were you able to start moving in any of that process of treatment, or was it more afterwards that you went, I need to get the trainers back on?
Not in the hospital. Like I'd spent like 4 weeks, the first stint of treatment, going through very aggressive chemotherapy. However, when I was being discharged from the first round of treatment,
what was your first question?
Yeah. Can I run? And I asked the nurse, and she basically was like, I don't know. And I was like, what do you mean you don't know? So I was like, well, I'll go and ask somebody who knows and who will tell me that I can. And this actually ended up being probably the whole conversation across the next 6 months with all of my consultants and medical experts. And they all probably learned a lot during this time as well. And they kind of ask people different questions now based on exercise. But when I got home, I just went out for a 30-minute run, and it was the best thing that I could have ever done. Yeah. And it was a way of me taking back control when everything had been taken away from you. Like, you had no control. Your life had been turned upside down. And I think it was that nod to myself to say, okay, your body's stronger than you think it is. Yes, you might not be able to train properly, but that 30-minute run just meant something more than a 30-minute run.
And was it then that the seed started to be planted that you were like, I want to help other people to know that movement helps?
Yeah, so I wasn't able to do loads of exercise, but I was able to do little bits when I could. Like, there was one time I did do the Great North Run in between. So that was the biggest thing. I did it 3 months into my treatment cycle. My hemoglobin was really low. My platelets were really low. My consultant had to have 10 glasses of wine before she said yes. And she actually consulted a lot of other people, and they said they don't think they should let me run. And she was like, well, I don't think that's an option, really. What happened was I was treated on, like, I was 24 years old and classed as a young person, and Teenage Cancer Trust were the charity that would support you. But they were building like units across the country, and Leicestershire hadn't got that building built yet. So me and a number of the young people who I got to know through treatment were treated on adult wards, and a lot of adults were in their 80s and 90s, and as hard as that is for them, that's ridiculously hard as a young person to be around that. I think you've got to have tunnel vision a little bit, and that's what I kind of found like running helped me kind of just get rid of everything on the side and just look forward and focus on yourself. And so I knew how important it was to have that young person's ward and just for it to feel and look different. And they were raising money at the time for it. So I was like, well, what could I do? The Great North Run's coming up. I know I can get a place because of people we know. So let's get a place and start to raise money. So I actually started to do that before I actually got permission to do it from my consultant. But I asked my registrar consultant, who was really nice and still learning. And he was like, yeah, that's fine, because my consultant was away on holiday. She got back and she was like, what? Yeah, it was just because my treatment's so aggressive. The platelet thing is a big one. If you fall and you don't have enough
and then you went back and they went, what have you done? And you'd be like...
But basically that was the planting of the seed, because what happened during treatment, the fundraising gave me purpose. I trained a little bit, but I mean, I went out for I tried to do a 6-mile run and came back after half a mile. I was exhausted. So I didn't really train for it. But still, the thought of it and just trying to do a little bit of stretching and moving gave me that purpose and gave me, again, something that I could control. It was more than just doing the Great North Run. It was to help other people and then raise money and then see what actually exercise can do for the body and mind. And that was really the planting of the seed for helping other people through when I founded the charity, but also understanding the power of exercise, sport and movement for the body and mind when you're going through cancer treatment or you're living with cancer. My consultant, who's a trustee on Move Against Cancer Charity, she's been through it the whole with from diagnosis all the way through with me, and I still speak to her now. And she said she does have a different conversation with people, from young people to adults, about what do they do for exercise, and if they actually don't do anything, starting to encourage them to do things. Because as a consultant or a medical professional, you hold that permission. You don't know exactly, what the outcome will be, but you hold the permission for the person to say, okay, it's okay to go for a walk or do a bit of exercise when you're living with cancer. And then people go, oh, okay, I can do that. There wasn't loads of evidence or studies or research done back in 2012, but now over the last 10 years and what we've been doing with Move Charity, that's evolved and there's a bigger movement towards the benefits of exercise and the cancer outcomes because of it. So my dream was basically, I remember being sat in the treatment room and being told my diagnosis and told my treatment plan. And that was all I was told. And technically, yes, it's there to try and save your life, but there was nothing positive around it or nothing that I could control. And basically my idea for the charity is that you get your treatment plan and then you get an exercise or a plan or support or something, have that conversation. So you've got all that daunting stuff and then you've got some light around that as well. That is really happening now. It's not everywhere, but Move Against Cancer has a program for young people, which is working. And then we're looking at how communities and just speaking about cancer and exercise and how that can empower and inspire people to actually, it's not all doom and gloom. There's something that you can focus on.
You must have been seeing King Charles with the volunteer with that. You must have been life goals. That is the coolest thing. He wasn't in a tracksuit, which slightly disappointed me, but we'll let them.
I know, he could have jumped in, couldn't he?
He had a little jog around. I'm not sure if that's as bad, but he was obviously out. He was out for a walk.
That was amazing because our 5K away got initiative got a lot of recognition for that, and the royal family basically mentioned Move Against Cancer. And I used to be CEO and I was founder CEO, and now I've stepped away, so I don't work in the day-to-day running of it. So for me, my dream for the charity was always see other people and have their voices used and not be mine anymore. And to see that happen and on that scale, it's just, I was able to sit back and just go, wow, how far we've come in the last 10 years and how amazing that is to have that association of movement, exercise and cancer. And then the king, recognizing that, which is, you don't get much bigger than that, do you?
You don't. I thought it was amazing. Thank you. I really appreciate you sharing that journey. I'm sure you've shared it a number of times, but I thought it was really important to delve into it because a chap came up to me at the running show and he said, I can't run at the moment. I'm going through chemo, but I listen to the podcast when I'm having my chemo and I just go to my happy place. I'm on the trails and I'm listening to your endless twittering, Eddie. We think we're talking to people running when we do this podcast, but we've had so many emails of people that either have had a scary illness diagnosis or are supporting somebody. And so I felt it was really important to highlight that part of your journey, and also so that people We've talked to Lucy quite a few times as well, of like, if you've got a family member or somebody that you can access this, and that you're not alone, whatever you're suffering, that you're not alone. And that when these horrible things happen in your life, I know this is awful to say, but sometimes that journey is like, wow, you would never want to go on that journey, but look at, wow, where you've come and what you've done, and imagine the lives you've saved and the lives that you've helped is just incredible, Gemma. You're such an inspiration.
Thank you. But it has, you're right. Like, I wouldn't want to go on it again, but I think it's changed my life for the better. Me and Lewis, my husband, always say this. It's like, I don't know, it gave me a perspective that I didn't know you could get. And I don't think you should, I always say this, you shouldn't have to go through that to get that perspective, but reality wise that you do. And I think it changed my running because it also changed my mindset. So after I finished my treatment, went into remission, I built back so slowly with running. I was like, I mean, my mum is a good runner, but my mum was running with me, and we were running like 11-minute miling, and that's all relative. But compared to like 7-minute, 6-minute miling, what I was doing before, I was just doing like 5 minutes at that, walking 5 minutes. And it was like a slow 6 months build up. But then in the summer, like, I ran a personal best over 3K on the track. And then the following year I represented England, which I hadn't ever done before. That can't just be training or ability. Like, I do massive believe that was to do with my mindset and just relaxing with everything and stop looking at outcomes. And just when I stood on the start line, I had the perspective of like, well, we've only got one life to live. Like, why not enjoy this? And I see a lot of people, a lot of runners petrified or, you know, scared of like not achieving things, but who really cares? Like, if you achieve it, amazing. If you don't, at least you've given it a shot. And I think once you let go of all that, it's quite a freeing feeling that I try now to take. Sometimes I forget because it's a little bit way away, but I do try and take that into a lot of my races. And since trail running, I feel like I found that mindset again even more.
I thought of you yesterday because The Greatest Showman came on my playlist as I was bopping along the trails, and I was like, oh, there's nothing. I know you talked about like going, you have a bit of music, a trail. Like, is there anything better in life than that freedom that a good playlist and a bit of mud and a run gives you? It's just the best.
It's amazing. And The Greatest Showman was actually when I first started trail running, I was going up to the Peak Districts and I was trying to practice like a bit technical descending, and I'd overthink things a little bit. I decided to listen to music and to stop my brain thinking, just to do. And I put From Now On, which is The Greatest Showman. And I remember going down this hill and I was like, oh my God. Felt like I was flying. But you know, like if you'd have videoed me, I probably wasn't. It's like those ski videos where your husband videos you and you're going down so slow. But I just felt like I was. Yeah, good memories. Because I was on my own and it was just, good fun.
Let's jump back to the Arc 50 because we've chatted a lot. But we still got quite a few juicy questions about the race. And you won it by an hour and a bit over
an hour.
My good friend Katie, who's done amazing coming back. She's just had her second baby, so her hips must have been
how people do it coming back from having a baby. I mean, it's amazing. Hats off to her. Absolutely incredible.
We talked about that you're going for an 8-hour run. Was your strategy then, when you saw the course conditions as well, were you like, I don't want to get injured, I'm going to hold back? Or were you just like, I'm just going to go for this?
Lewis is the one who comes up with my strategy, and it is based on time in terms of aid stations, but that's all based on my feels. All I run with is like overall time on my watch, and that's it. So I've seemed to have developed a skill that's very good at, like, most races I'll hit his splits very well. I base it on like a rate that I practice in training, and it just works for us. The day before we went to the start and we went for a shakeout run on the coastal path, and oh my God, like the storm, I mean, fair play to the 100 milers, the wind was just like 70 miles an hour, blown off your feet. And we saw the ground was quite muddy. But to be fair, that was like nothing compared to what was going to come. So I think nobody really knew in that 30K section. I think it's from like Pendine to Lelant, like what that actually was going to be like. From insights from Tom Evans, like I knew, because I went for a chat with him before, I knew it was going to be boggy, but a guy I was running with was like, it was 1,000,000 times worse than it was last year. Me and Lewis went back on the Friday night and we sat and had a chat about race strategy, and we adjusted it slightly. probably about 5 minutes, and went through all the checkpoints. And so I knew what to write on my hand. And then on race day, I remember getting to the first checkpoint I was bang on. And then the second checkpoint was like 5 minutes down. And I think me and this guy got lost slightly. We ran a minute over, basically ran a minute out, and then realised our watches were beeping and we were on the wrong course because we were following another guy who had a number on. So I don't know where the hell he went because we had to go down and he was just going somewhere. And then we both turned and we were like, oh God, we're going the wrong way. So it's probably about a minute difference. But I got to the second aid station, I was like 5 minutes down. And this is where, like, as an athlete, you need to make those decisions. Like, this is out of Lewis's hands in terms of, like, I had to be settled with that and be fine with that. Like, I could have been like, oh my gosh, I'm behind. But what I knew was that effort wise, I was in the right effort and I shouldn't be going any faster. So I didn't try and catch that up. I just settled with, that's fine. I am where I am. I am where I need to be. Like, we didn't really have much information on the woman behind because I think the trackers were a bit all over the place.
Yeah.
So if she was like 30 seconds behind, I was quite content because I was like, well, I'm running at the right effort that I know that I can potentially sustain for that 8 hours or be able to pick up in that second half. I actually don't ever go into it thinking it's going to be a hard 8 hours. Like, I know that if you pace it well, what you can do, if that makes sense. So I was actually very comfortable, especially in the first half, especially the first 2 aid stations, in terms of it was a bit less muddy and a bit more runnable, and just felt the right effort. When it got to that big 30k section, I'm not sure what happened to effort. It just became a one foot in front of the other, and probably was like more in like lower end easy cardiovascularly, even though you are running, but at some points you just couldn't get going at all, and you just had to not get frustrated and kind of move forward.
You wore the HOKA Tecton 3s. How were they?
Controversial.
But what's the course like, Gemma? Is it 50-50 split between runnable trails and then these sloppy coastal trails?
So basically, there's a big 30k section, which is like at 22k, you hit that, and then you go to Leland, which is just past St. Ives. That whole section is like rocky, there's boulders, there's lots of bogs. Like, it all looks very different depending on where you run. There's bits of runnable bits, but the bogs were like knee-deep bogs. All the descents were like slip and slide. So like, just there's no grip that you were getting anyway. And then the boulder bit was actually the easiest part, which when I'd looked at some of the pre-race, people had done recce, so I watched some videos because I hadn't recce'd the course. I was like, oh, that looks horrendous. And then I was just climbing over them thinking, oh, this is better than mud. And then when you get to St. Ives, you do have, I think it's like still like a 10k road section pretty much. Because I did the Arc 25 last year, I knew the second half of the course, but the second half of the course this year was much more saturated in water, so it's actually more waterlogged. There's something called like the four bitches on Strava. It's like a segment, and it's like down up, I think, and it's like steps down, steps up, and they're quite brutal, but they were a little bit muddy, but not horrific. But again, in the second half, there was some that last year was a bit drier. This year was just a mudslide down, so mud everywhere basically. But the second half is less technically than the first half, but then the second half has also got 2 of the biggest climbs in there.
Did you go on your bum down anything, or you managed to turn your feet?
No, quite a lot. The guys around me must have been like, this girl, honestly. But shoe, I guess that kind of comes into shoe-wise. So the shoe debate was the biggest decision before, once you'd got around the weight of your pack. The night before, I still wasn't 100% sure, like, what shoe I was going to wear. And I was thinking of the Mafati 5s, which have 5 mil lugs.
That would have been, but then they just haven't got that bounce back. Like the Tectons.
Yeah, Chris Jones wore them actually, and he found them really good on that technical section. Why I made the decision was, so the Tecton 3s I've raced in pretty much every race I've done. Chianti and the New Forest Trail Marathon in December this year, both waterlogged and both like loads of mud. What I found is they didn't hold the mud as bad as some of the shoes. And also, when you got your foot fully submerged, so people kind of forgot to think about this, but when you got your foot fully submerged in mud and water, it didn't absorb it, so the shoe didn't actually become heavy. So for me, I was like, it isn't just about the grip here. If the course is as bad as they say it is, the grip matters, but actually how it holds the water is really important. And Lewis also, a lot of the time, says to me, now he's very good at like technical descents, and he's like, it's not the shoe, it's the person. I put myself on the line and just kept saying to myself, it's not the shoe, it's the person. And I just thought, in bogs, no shoe is going to give you grip. So why not go for one that you feel comfortable in? I mean, if you did want a shoe change, then you probably could, but I wasn't going to do that, because what if like I've got, the next competitor 30 seconds down the line, and 30 seconds makes a massive difference in a trail race. So I was like, I'm not willing to give that up. So I'm willing to sacrifice some grip. And then, like you say, know that I have a shoe that works in the second half a lot better potentially, and that I feel good in. And yeah, I did, I fell about 5 times. Like one time I just went round a corner and just went And then one of the best ones was this guy was running behind me, and we were coming into St. Ives, but there's still quite a rocky and boggy bit before you get onto the path into St. Ives, but you can see the St. Ives beach. And I was like, oh, this is where this is where I come into my own. And
this guy behind me, he can drop that 16-minute 5K. He's not going to know. He's a goner.
But then what happened, it was like, that grass that's just got a layer of water? And I think I just got too confident, and I literally, my foot went and I just went flying back and landed on my back. But luckily the pack's so big and padded, like your running pack with all the mandatory kit. I literally landed. I was like, oh, that didn't even hurt, and got straight back up and just carried on going. But I think I just ended up falling, not getting frustrated, keeping my playlist on, and then literally every time I was just like, back up, I'm fine, back up, I'm fine.
Oh, it sounds exhausting. All that extra work, all that slipping and sliding. It's like you said, I can't think of one race that, on the trails at least, where you can pick a shoe and it nails all of it.
Yeah, there isn't one. And I always say that you just weigh up what your benefits are and what your risks are of wearing it, and make a calculated decision. I think people try and find the perfect shoe, but there isn't one. But for me, the Tecton has held up quite well in muddy conditions and wet conditions. And actually, like, I'd use that shoe again in the same race. Like, I wouldn't change it.
Garrett
Lots
always
of
go
form,
high stack carbon.
Carbon plate, 100%.
Oh, yeah. The difference with the Tecton, so I did get some advice from Elsie actually about going lower profile. The Tecton's actually a lower profile carbon shoe. And I think that's what did make the difference, because I think high stack you would have struggled, but actually with a low stack carbon, it's not as an aggressive carbon shoe, but it works really well. I think what was happening is you had all the mud and the bogs, but you had loads of rocks underneath as well. So you had to have one that could cope with, if you stand on those rocks, like, you're not going to go over on your ankle. And actually I didn't really go over my ankle much, to be fair. I mean, I do tape my ankles as well, but I think that was quite helpful. And I guess shoe preference is like me and Lewis will wear completely different shoes because we're different types of runners. Like, I'm a lopey runner with a long stride. He's very compact. So how we descend looks very different as well. And often the shoe is about that descending, isn't it? Like, how stable you feel, how reactive you feel. And I think it's finding the shoe that works for you. And I think it was funny, I did go on the Arc of Attrition Facebook group because I find that hilarious sometimes. And then everyone said, what shoe do you wear? And everyone put like the shoe that I wore, they were like, no chance, can't wear that. And I was thinking, I was like, Gemma, stop looking at this. I'm sure I'll be fine.
Yeah.
But it was interesting because even the men and the women's, like the top 5, everybody was in a completely different shoe. So
it's wild. Completely wild,
yeah.
I love it.
It's nothing right. I'm really suffering, Gemma, with my eyes. I'm a lot older than you. With I call them my old lady eyes. Lady eyes, they start watering as soon as I turn into the wind or run downhill. And I saw you had quite a fetching pair of clear glasses on, and I've even Googled which ones they were. I've gone deep. Were you wearing that because of the wind? What was your thought? And you looked really cool in them. I'm not sure I can carry them off, but I think I'm going to need to get some for my next race.
So Lewis was going to disown me for wearing them.
Oh no, Lewis has been such a sensible character all through this podcast, and now he's gone.
Because I like a bit of glam, and they did match with my glam. So when I was running around Bradgate in the winter, I would do a session and one of my eyes would water, and I'd be like, I can't actually see running down this
is my problem. This is my problem.
Yeah. But I was like, do you just learn to do that? Like, do you just learn to run down the rocky descent and not see? And then I actually spoke to Tom again. Like, I'm like, Tom, he's like my agony aunt. Tom, what do I do? But I just said, like, what kind of clear glasses would you recommend? recommend. And when I did the CCC, I wore the 42s, the Sun God ones, with the lens that you can go in and out of shade, because I was fed up of like putting my glasses on my head, then putting them down. I didn't realize, I was like, oh, I have those, and you can actually wear them in dull, like normal conditions. But then I saw they had the clear lens ones. So it was only the week before the race. I was like, Gemma, you can be brave enough to wear these glasses.
I like you set it, and I'm going to follow you. When you next see me racing, you'll be like, Eddie, you look terrible, but run downhill.
I think that's the thing. If you can laugh about it and then wear them, you can be okay. It's just that I didn't want to be like that kit, do you know, the kit person on the line. They're like, who is that? But I was like, you know what? If they work for me and they help my eyes.
Did they work? Did they help your eyes?
Massively, yeah. So clear lens. I actually hadn't practiced in them before the race, which I wouldn't recommend. But I thought, I've worn the glasses. I just haven't worn the clear lens glasses. But for the first half, there was wind, like sometimes wind behind you, but a lot of side wind and coming across. And yeah, when I had them on, like one, it stopped my eyes watering, so my eyes didn't water at all. But two, it also kept my face quite warm, because I think even if you don't have watery eyes, when you've got a lot of wind and those sort of conditions, you can blink a lot anyway, and then the face gets a bit sore. And so they were really good for that. Yeah, I felt a bit of a plonker stood on the start line.
Let's start a movement. We're going to bring them in 2026.
Yeah, I think we should make them happen. The first time I actually saw them, I'm sure loads of other trail runners wear them, but when I did Chianti last year, Jermaine Granger wore them. He looked like a science guy, but I was like, there must be something in this. But then we were like, we'd never wear something like that. And then there's me.
I know.
Oh, the amount of times they've done that. It's not for me. Before I know it, I'll put them on my feet.
Yeah, but I would recommend. I actually, like, a couple of people have messaged me and said, and I was like, yeah, if you embrace them and don't care about what you look, I would, like, they are.
Also, it's really dear. I stand at the top of climbs. I start going down, and I have to stop and wipe my eyes because I cannot see anything.
Yeah,
and your eyes do get tired. You do get tired, and it doesn't go away. It's not something that, like, and then I forget about it, and I'm running on the flat, running uphill, and then I start going downhill again, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm literally blinded. Yeah. And so, like, we wouldn't not wear the, you know, if there was such a bit of chaffing, we'd be like, I'm not wearing those shorts. So, like, let's not worry what people on Facebook say.
Exactly. And it's important to be able to see as well. That's the thing.
Important.
I mean, I did have to like wipe them. There's bits where like water gets on them and they steam up. I did have to like take them off while running and like just get the steam away. Or sometimes I was running, I was like, it's not very clear now.
It's like when you're driving and it steams up and you're like, I actually can't see anything now. What the hell?
Yeah, I was like, is this the outside weather or is this my glasses?
One last question for me, Gemma. I'm curious your mindset towards the end, because in the women's race, at least, you'd spend pretty much all of the time on your own. Do you start focusing on maybe chasing men down, or are you completely laser focused on the women's race and getting that win?
It's a good question. So from start to finish, I always have my own race strategy. So yes, you're racing a race, but if somebody, for example, goes off faster and that doesn't fit with my race strategy, especially early on, I won't necessarily follow. I'll do what I think is right. And you do have to be aware of what's going on. But in this race in particular, I wasn't 100% aware of what was going on behind me women's wise. So when I came into Lelant, which was the bag drop where you got your first picking up your extra bits, we thought she was like, say, 30 minutes behind Aroa. And I think that's how I pronounce her name. Aroa's 30 minutes behind, but we weren't 100% sure. So you still don't know whether that tracker's right or not. And I think there's been loads of issues with trackers. So Lewis wasn't 100. Every checkpoint I was like, where are the women? Lewis was like, So no one was like 100% sure. But when I did get to that bag checkup, which is that halfway point basically, and Lewis said to me, right now you need to just focus on the men in front of you. Like that needs to be who you're going to focus on. And so that's where like the mindset changed of like, now I'm racing the guys. And I knew that there was a couple of guys only a couple of minutes up. One of them actually, I call him teammate, but who Lewis coaches, Joe. And I think Lewis thought that if I caught him up, it'd also give Joe a boost because he was having a bit of a tough time. So we had a little run together and a chat. But yeah, I was quite conscious in that second half, I did start to think about like what's next. Not what's next. I didn't think it was in the bag, but I didn't want to put myself into a hole either, and I wanted to finish strong. So I was going through the sand dune section, which people call the sand dunes of doom, but I really liked it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love them. Like when I did the 25 mile last year, I really enjoyed it. And then again, this time I enjoyed it. But I knew that I'd ran quite well before that. Like I was moving quite quickly, quick as you can in a 50 miler. And in those sand dune sections, I knew that I could push on. I had the feeling that I could push on, but I also knew that this was my longest race by an hour, my second longest race that I've done. And I was thinking, I don't know how my legs might respond in that last 2 hours. So I held back slightly. And then what happened is when I got to the last aid station, which is like 7K to go, I had some Coke, and then I literally, like, I wasn't flying, but I felt like I was flying. Do you know that feeling a bit like Edwina, when we were talking about Greatest Showman, when you have that freeing feeling. I had a good playlist in. I've updated a little bit from the musicals. I still have them on, but I've got some really good like 90s dance songs on.
Robert Miles, can't go wrong with a bit of that.
Exactly. Mickey Medell, Dancing in the Dark is my favourite. Honestly, that song. And I was just in a really happy place. And there's still like a couple of technical ups and downs. And then just the finish, I just was really happy. And I just felt like I had legs. And that's a good sign at the end of a 50-mile race as well, especially going through what we did. And I heard some of the guys like Chris and Keith actually got to St Ives, thought they would have legs because they were holding back, and actually ended up not. So it was a nice position to feel like I'd hit all my fueling goals, I'd kind of paced it well, and then I could finish strong. And that's how I like to race, because CCC in the summer I had like a hip tear while running, and like that was the worst 3 hours of my life towards the end. Well, actually the worst 7 hours of my life. But you learn, and not every race will feel like that at the end. I'm aware of that, but you know, it's nice to have that feeling.
I've never heard anyone say anything. CCC is always like everyone comes away with a little bit of soul scarring after that race.
It's brutal.
It's brutal.
I think as a runner, isn't it, there's not many better feelings than having a successful final third of a race. Yeah, it's such a good place to be. You mentioned your nutrition though. So what kind of carbs were you hoping to hit? And sounds like your energy was there right till the end.
Exactly. So I hit all once I finished the race, when you take all your gels out your pack to check what you've had, I thought there was, it is, a disgusting process because they're everywhere. I did think I'd left a couple, and then it was really nice to realise that I'd had everything, which was really good. And I think at one point I'd taken 30 grams more in an hour than I scheduled to take. So that was through the tough section. So I think that probably shows that I can actually maybe take on a little bit more. But my strategy was to take 90 grams per hour, and that's what I've practiced. And to be fair, I've been doing that for quite a long time now. So when I first came into trail running, I heard that nutrition was like one of the most important things. So it's the one thing that I put my attention to actually. Because Lewis takes care of the training and that type of thing, and I'm quite a coachable athlete if you ask me. Don't ask him. So I like to have something that I can put my mind into, and nutrition was one of them. But in the CCC, so I'd always done really well when nutrition hit 90 grams. In the CCC in August, after 5 hours, I had nausea and sickness, and we think it's now to do with like the heat and needing to lower those levels of carbs in the heat and a bit of altitude, and then go up at different times. So we actually probably got that a bit wrong. But because it was cold, we went back to the 90 grams, and that involved precision hydration carb mix, which I absolutely love. So that I've taken that for the last 2 years in every
loves
race.
that. He has that every meal. Just to leave.
It's my dessert, yeah.
It's so good. And I have a really sweet tooth, so I take the chews as well. I used to take more chews than I do now. I went through, so in CCC and in Chianti last year, I didn't take chews, but then in the Arc, I took chews again, and I think I like the mixture of gel and chew again. So again, it's like working out again what you like. And then I actually do take talk gels, because when I did a marathon, I was like in the best shape ever and came down with norovirus, but I was taking like Morton, and I actually threw up a lot after long runs, which probably means that they're not right for me. But that like flavour, plain flavour, I threw up a lot in the marathon, a mixture of norovirus bringing the gels. And then I just can't take a plain gel anymore. Do you know when you literally...
Oh, you actually like the
Oh
sweet.
my God. So my flavours are like rhubarb and custard is my favourite now. And I'd probably take about 8 of those, strawberry and yogurt, the cherry one and the cola one. And honestly, I do not get sick of them even by the end. I've just
You're
got
the person that I go, who nobody likes that. And you can go to all the bargain bins of gels because you'll be like, no one has these ones. I love the cherry ones.
What about caffeine? Were you bringing apart from the kind of red ambulance?
Yes, I actually, when I did the OCC in 2024, Precision did a case study on me. So they documented it and wrote down, caffeine's different for everybody, but I seem to respond quite well to it. So I actually use a mixture of Pro Plus pre-race, and then I do caffeine gels. So I think I was taking like 390 milligrams of caffeine across the whole race.
No wonder you felt good in those closing stages.
Let's
go again, guys!
Yeah. Well, that's before the Coke, so the Coke adds on to that. But I don't have any, so like I drink,
You
like,
don't get the jitters or...
No, so I drink tea during the day. I'm a big tea drinker, but I have it very weak and milky. I don't think I'm like used to caffeine. So I don't, because it's literally tea bag in, tea bag out, loads of milk.
Oh, it's going so well, Gemma. It's going so well. That sounds like...
That is my ideal cup of tea. Yeah, I don't get any heart like racing or anything with caffeine. It doesn't really hit. I don't even feel like I'm taking it, but the Coke in the last aid station kind of concentration wise did. But it's got a shelf life of about 5 hours. So I was working out, like, if I have like a couple of Pro Plus before, then I'm okay. And then I distribute it in certain hours across, like often when I'm a bit before I'm coming up to maybe a harder section, so that the caffeine reboots and then gets back into your system. And then I always just have that Coke. I only have the Coke at technically a final aid station in most races, because one, I think it goes down quite well, it gives you extra carbs and the caffeine, but it's actually quite a nice like palate thing to have. So that's why I tend to have Coke. I mean, a lot of people do, I think. I'm a coach as well, and I don't recommend like what I take to other people.
It's all individual.
Exactly. I think that's so important. Like even like fueling is so, because like it took me, I got quite quick to like 90 grams, but I've got like no intolerances, no past food issues, anything. So I think my gut's quite robust and it's in a good place. But I have other people that we've coached or Lewis has coached that have taken like a year to 2 years to get their fueling right. So don't kind of give up on it. It's very different for everybody and just takes time sometimes.
Just
and like
fuel. Doesn't matter.
Exactly. And I've had it where like, you know, my fueling at CCC went completely out the window, but I didn't fully change. I could have just thought, oh, I changed my whole strategy because none of this works. These gels don't work. These carb mix don't work. But actually, a lot of the time it can be like the weather conditions that you perhaps haven't considered. And that's something that, yeah, is important to look at as well and test out, which maybe a lot of people don't think about. They just have one strategy and then that's it. Yeah. And actually that happened in the Arc. So we had that from Pendine to Lamp, we had that aid state. There was no aid station for 30k. So if you were a mid to backpack runner, that would be a lot longer. I mean, for the 100 milers, that's just insane. Like borderline a little bit dangerous, I think. What I decided to do was I decided to take an extra couple of gels, because I knew that what happens if that section's slower than we anticipated, which it ended up being. So you had to have the capacity to carry 1.5 liters, but I filled up both 500ml water bottles, and then I filled up another one with water and put it in the side of my pack. So I was actually 1.5 litres through that whole section, and I didn't drink much of the one in my pack, but it was there if I needed it. And I know Keith Wigley, who was second, he said this in a podcast, that he actually didn't consider that. So he actually went 50 minutes without fuel because he didn't consider that section to be slower.
Oh,
yeah.
So that is...
Yeah,
no wonder they didn't have the legs at the end.
Yeah. Yeah, and like he said, he's not sure if it had a big impact because he'd already fueled quite well before, but yeah, you never know, do you? But it's those little decisions sometimes that, and we've all got it wrong. Like
Yeah.
I got it wrong at
still do.
CCC and yeah, but it's good learnings.
There's definitely nothing you can lose by sticking a couple of extra gels in your pack just to cover you for those moments. It's fantastic to get the win, but then what does that mean in terms of like UTMB? Does that guarantee you an entry 2027, I suppose?
Yeah, so that's guaranteed entry in 2027 for CCC, or you can step up or down actually. So you can step up to UTMB or you can step down to OCC, I think, if you get a podium finish at a World Series event, I think. So
no big decisions yet. Let's just do this year first.
No, yeah, I do have my eyes on the 100 miler. I will do UTMB. Yeah, it's just not sure whether Western States is where I want to go first.
Imagine the Tectons on the Western States Corps. They'd be so happy. They would be so happy.
Yeah,
but we've had, I think it's expensive to go out there, but then we actually have a friend who now lives about an hour away from the course. So, you never know. But yeah, this year, I'm in CCC this year. So that's the main aim. And then we'll have a look at, where that goes. Like, I really like the CCC. I love the course, but UTMB intrigues me. The 100 mile faster run, like runnable 100 mile intrigues me as well. But yeah, still CCC for me it was good, but it wasn't like the race that I wanted. And it certainly wasn't like I was hobbling the last 6 hours. So it was an interesting one. So, unfinished business, but also still learning the longer distances because I haven't actually done many of them. So I've got a lot to learn still.
It's exciting.
I'm excited to ask this question. We ask all our guests to share their favourite workout, perhaps leading up to the Arc, or perhaps just one of your favourite workouts that Lewis says, Gemma, this is on the plan. And then people running can have a go at doing the workout as well. What's your favourite or your go-to session that you're like, love this, tick this one off?
I do really like it. I like tempo sessions when we go we go to Bradgate Park and we run up some hills that are steep but not really long. The reason I love them is because we run in a place that I grew up, like when I was younger. Like I used to run down the path with my dad in primary school, and when I was like under 15 we started going with the running group. So it's basically the runner's playground that I've known since I was like a child. So for me it's like still amazing to run around those areas but run on paths now, the trails that we never used to run. And I guess from a workout point of view, we do 3 by 15 minutes tempo with a steady flow, and I seem to be quite good at tempo to steady, that type of session. So I tend to enjoy that kind of session the most. In the block to the Arc though, we did do quite a few VO2 max type hill sessions, so 8 by 2 minute hills. So a lot of trail runners wouldn't even think about doing that because they think, it's all got to be long, but we did that and then built that into then 6 by 3 minute, and they were with Lewis running next to me, who's a former 1500 metre British champion and has got legs, isn't as fit as he was.
He takes out that first 30 seconds, you must be like...
Yeah, and I have to go with him and commit. And I did race over 15 and 3K quite well, but I'm definitely not as fast twitch as he is. So I'm hanging on for dear life. But it was amazing. Yeah, those sessions do actually bring you on and help to move that ceiling a little bit. And as much as I'm these are tough, actually at the end you're I love that. That was proper hardcore grind, get everything out of yourself. And we don't do loads of that across a year. We often do it at a set period of time, which was the kind of November, December time. So yeah, those couple of sessions, tempos, and then that hill session.
Something for everybody. I love it.
Yeah. Quick five.
Yes, do it.
If you could create your own race, Gemma, what would be the signature feature? Would it have a brutal climb, ridiculous aid stations, or some kind of weird tradition?
Oh, if I could create a race, I'd have cowbells being rung at every hill. So a bit like Zegama. I watch when I'm on the treadmill doing any uphill sessions, I'll watch a race. And recently, leading into the Arc, I was watching Zegama. I don't know why. I think it's Zegama. Maybe not called Zegama.
However you like to say it. Gary and I, however we like to say the words,
every week.
Say them on this podcast.
I'm the worst at pronouncing. Lewis is going to be cringing listening to this. Zegama, I think it's called. Anyway, where they have the climb just completely lined with hundreds of people and the cowbells are ringing. And I got that experience when I did my first trail race. There was a Sting in the Tail hill in Wales in Cody Brennan. There's only a couple of people up there, but I was I love these cowbells. So that would be that. That'd be that. And then for me personally, there'd be a mixture of runnable climb, but quite a lot of climbing, but then gradual runnable descent and then some flat in there. That would be mine.
I like that. Gary and I would be up for that. And I've not thought about watching that on uphill treadmills and just imagining them.
I was just thinking that. What a great
it's
idea.
really good. Yeah, watch the live stream from this year. It's really cool.
Okay,
Yeah, like
love it.
you do get bits where it cuts out, but yeah, the atmosphere just looks
And
amazing.
because you're watching, you're like, I am actually pretty much the same speed as these people.
Well, I actually did. So I did a treadmill tempo on this week. Well, I don't even know what day we're on Tuesday. And I put Chianti the live because last year, Jim and Killian and that were there. So they did it. There was the first live stream, I think, of UTMB. So I put that on to see if I could get to know the first half of the course. And Jim was like striding up this hill and I could feel my rhythm on the treadmill. Just going like, here's and that. It does help actually. Like it feels like a bit of simulation, doesn't it?
I'm going to do that. Incredible. ITV have called. Is it ITV or Channel 4? Anyway, whoever produces SAS Survival or I'm a Celebrity, MasterChef, Bake Off or Big Brother, which one would you say yes to?
SAS Survival, 100%.
Everyone says SAS.
Oh, do they? I'm not a baker. I definitely wouldn't. My sister would be a baker.
So much standing in that Bake Off. I'd be like, where's the chair?
Yeah. I also can't bake. Like I cook, but my sister is amazing at baking. I leave. The only thing I can bake is a cheesecake because you literally batter some biscuits, put it all in and put it in the fridge. So you don't have to bake it. But yeah, SAS, I used to watch that and think, oh, I'd love to do all those challenges. Like I like that.
But I don't want them coming in telling me why you're here with the hood over my head and stuff like that. I'm going to opt out. It's going to be opt out in our contracts that we just do the physical.
We can't do that. No interrogation.
Oh, you're doing an overseas race. Do you take your kit as carry-on or do you check it in and fingers crossed it turns up?
Carry on, 100%, everything. The only thing I'm starting to have issues is though with gels. I've had to, you can't fit them all in your bag. So when you do the longer races, it's like you have to actually put them in the hold and pray for the best because you can't fit them in. When I was younger at uni, we used to attach them, when we used to go on a training camp, we used to attach the trainers, the laces to the side. So we'd have them hanging down. So they'd be like, here come the runners. now I put them in my bag, but yeah.
It's more classy now.
Yeah.
Incredible. If ultra running were banned tomorrow, what sport would you do instead?
Golf.
Ah, yes.
Oh, I thought you were going to say hockey and
golf. Yeah.
Okay.
So
yeah.
Hockey, yeah, maybe years ago, but I am a massive golf fan. So I went to the Ryder Cup in Rome and it was absolutely amazing. So golf would be my choice.
Did you play golf?
The Ryder Cup's the only one I'd watch. The only one I watch, but it's amazing.
So good. It is.
Can hold their nerve. Hold your nerve.
So good. There's a lot of lessons you can take from the mentality in golf and seeing it live was just another level in terms of like the chants and with Rory McIlroy. Like it was just, amazing.
Do you think you have the patience? I'm not sure I have the patience to practice.
So I do actually play. Not loads. Like we went through a few before I started trail running. Actually, trail running now takes up too much time. But I only started because I play hockey. I think when I started hitting a golf ball, I ended up being you take to it, don't you?
Well, I just hit it too hard, and the kids are like, "Mum, it's not power," and I'm like, "Well, what is this sport? It is not power."
Do you record, Gemma? Would you record a round of golf as a Strava activity? A few of my friends do that.
No. But also, I have Strava, but I'm Strava. I don't have anyone follow me on Strava.
Okay.
So I'm not Strava dark in terms of I have followers and I don't post anything. I actually only have it so Lewis can look at segments because I like the freedom of my running being personal. And I'm like that when I go on runs. Like I don't really take my phone. I don't have my watch. I record everything. But I don't like the thought of everybody knowing everything, but more because it's my own personal space. Do you know that like freedom side?
I'm the same. Yeah. I'm like, nobody wants to know why or question why I did that.
Yeah, I think it can change when people are looking as well. It can maybe change maybe how you think about things. So I've never stepped into it, and I only have it for like our analysing of like segments, especially when you go to the Alps. It can be really useful looking at what other people are doing on things, so we can analyse them, but I go dark.
Too right, absolutely.
Take, Gemma. Unbelievable.
Yeah, that sounds bad, doesn't it?
Every week we share the podcast over on Instagram, and you get to choose the song that we put to our story and post. What's it going to be, Gemma?
I guess you don't really want Greatest Showman from now on, do you?
Yeah, of
As
course.
we spoke about that.
Yeah, do it. Gary will love that. He loves my musical tendencies.
I've said it before on this podcast. I think The Greatest Showman over-delivered more than any film I've ever watched.
I actually watched the day before the Arc. I watched The Greatest Showman after I'd done the bib pack-up, so during the day, and then in the evening I watched The Knight's Tale, and I was the happiest girl going to bed.
Two absolute classics there.
Yeah.
And in Knight's Tale, we watched that not that long ago, Christmas time. It's very underrated, and it is before its time, and it's lived on. It's amazing.
So
Classic.
good.
So
isn't it?
clever. Yeah,
Yeah.
Knight's Tale, that's a good pre-race one as well. It's a
Yeah.
good one.
That's what I'd recommend to people, actually, getting some good pre-race films to watch to just relax you and chill you out.
Nothing too heavy, no
No.
kidding, nothing low cortisol, but happy
Yeah.
hormones all along. Gemma, thank you. You've given up loads of your time this morning. We've gone, I feel we've covered a lot in this podcast. Thank you so much for sharing what it takes into being at the front end, pointy ends of this field, but also your journey as well. And lots of little tips and tricks along the way and keeping it real. Say hi when you next run past Tom on the trails from us. And looking forward to following the rest. So excited to see where the rest, not just this year, but the rest of your career goes, and seeing those clear goggles out in Chianti and then CCC. Thank you so much. And yes, good luck with the continued recovery and then your build into your next races as well.
Thanks so much for having me on. I've loved the chat. And Eddie, I hope to see you in the glasses soon.
Yes, you know it. You're going to repost the minute you see. You'll be like, I am one. There needs a hashtag. I'll think of a hashtag for the glasses, and it can't be old lady eyes, because that's not going to catch on. That's not going to work with marketing.
Thanks, Gemma. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.